Are you sheltering in place, isolated, feeling alone? Well, then you're just like us.
Hit me.
From Studio P in Sausalito, the home of the quarantined hit, it's time for... Succotash Shut-In, the Soundcast Stimulus Package featuring snippets from comedy...
Soundcasts.
And now, here's your host for this episode, Tyson Saner.
Insaner.
Saluton, estas me, Tyson Saner, your host for this 228th episode of... Oh wait, it's 228 total shows, and of those, this is the 228th, but it's only the 28th episode of the show called Succotash Shut-In, which it currently is. I alternate hosting duties with original show host and creator Mark Hershon. Last week on show 227, Mark interviewed comedian, author, and podcaster Dylan Brody, whose podcast, called Dylan Brody's Neighbor's Couch Revisited, which he shares with Darren Staley, had both myself and Mark Hershon on as a guest. Episode 227 contains a fascinating conversation, and I urge you to listen to it. Not necessarily now, but soon. Of course, that is entirely up to you. It's one of the joys of soundcasts, or podcasts as some people still refer to them, the freedom to listen whenever you want, on whatever medium you prefer to listen to your downloaded or streaming content. Additionally, on the subject of Dylan Brody, be sure to check out the Corona Dialogues, and also pre-order his new book coming out, Relatively Painless, by clicking on the link on the blog at www.succotashshow.com or through his own website at dylanbrody.com, which is www.dylanbrody.com. This episode, I've got clips for you from the Soundcasts Of Course You Realize This Means Podcast, Cave Crew Radio, and the Mallard Report. I've also got an ad from Henderson's Pants around here somewhere for y'all. And as there are still updates over at www.trumpoetry.com, I will be reading a selection, which I have not yet selected. I should point out that both Henderson's Pants and trumpoetry.com are not real sponsors. We are, as of my writing this, without an actual paying sponsor, and on the lookout for a real one. Alright, let's get to the show. First up, Of Course You Realize This Means Podcast, a Looney Tunes discussion. Its description says, Welcome to Looneyland. This is where you'll find fans of Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and the rest of the gang talking about the history of the franchise known as Looney Tunes. In this exploration of Wacky Wabbits, Screwy Ducks, and the artistry of all classic Looney Tunes shorts, we will also find ourselves in uncharted territories, where we discover reimaginings of these beloved characters and motion picture appearances you may not know about. This podcast will also give you weekly updates on the Scopely game, Looney Tunes World of Mayhem, including future character releases and features. Come along with us and join in on the conversation. So this clip is from a show from September 10th, 2020, which is called A Frustrated FUD. It's featuring Unstable Gamer. Now, Unstable Gamer is one word, with a capital U on unstable and a capital G on the word gamer, and the last E in gamer is a number 3. So the description of the episode says, This week, Unstable Gamer and I dove into the previously unreleased pilot for the Looney Tunes show. We watched a classic Elmer Fudd and Sylvester the Cat short in Back Alley Uproar from 1948, and went to space in Duck Dodgers, The Fudd from 2004, where Elmer was mixed with the sci-fi concept of the Borg from Star Trek, and maybe MODOK from the Marvel Universe. The clip in question features discussion of Back Alley Uproar.
Let's take a trip back to 1948 with another version of the Looney Tunes. This was the classic era, and we're looking at Elmer Fudd and Sylvester the Cat in Back Alley Uproar. This is a classic cartoon that achieved that status by the comedic wit of Michael Maltese and Ted Pierce working together as the writing team, and Friz Freleng directing. So we have Elmer Fudd, who's very tired and trying to get some sleep, while Sylvester, who lives in the alley, starts singing opera tunes and popular songs at the time to just antagonize him.
Oh, boy, am I sleepy. I could sleep for a week straight.
It just escalates and escalates, and it's so funny. What did you think about the short, and does it bring back some really fun memories?
Oh my gosh, it does. Especially when you see Sylvester just stomping, right? He's got boots on and he's stomping as loud as he can down those stairs to get Elmer to come down there.
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. 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 Cha-cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha.
And then when Elmer finally gets down there, he runs across those tacks at the bottom of the stairs.
I love this. Yes, it's a great visual where Sylvester uses boots to antagonize him to go downstairs because that's where the noise is.
Yeah.
And he has greased the stairs, placed tacks at the bottom of the stairs, and Elmer just like haphazardly like trips and falls and like has this really crazy stumble, which I'm sure was animated by Virgil Ross, the late great Virgil Ross. And this animation is fantastic. It's hilarious. Anytime I watch it, I laugh. And this gag plays out where he goes all the way down with a golf club, sees that Sylvester is there, and then he goes back up through the tacks, up the stairs, tripping and everything again to get his shotgun, and then comes back over the tacks and everything. And it's just this hilarious visual of, lunacy that the Looney Tunes are known for, and it's just so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and the way they ended it, I thought was pretty awesome, too. You got him singing out there. You got Sylvester singing out there on this trash heap.
Some Sunday morning is going to be some Sunday.
And then Elmer's like, I'm gonna finally stick it to him and put some dynamite behind him, right? And then,
Huh? Oh, well. At least now I can get some West relaxation.
and then you end it with him on a cloud with wings and a halo, right?
Exactly. And Elmer is ascending after blowing himself up with dynamite on accident because he barely like nicks the match and it just explodes on him.
Yep.
And it's, he finally goes, I can finally have some West and relaxation. And then Sylvester, life number 5 comes up and all of his lives follow and they're all harmonizing around him. And he loses his mind again and he jumps off the cloud. I guess he was sailing and floating up to heaven, but he chose to go to hell instead. It's very dark. So some really fun facts about this short are that this is a remake of Friz Freeling's earlier short, Notes to You, where Porky was in Elmer's position and a cat, I believe it was still Sylvester, was antagonizing him. But the really fun part about this and all of the shorts that they remade from the 40s or remade from the 30s into the 40s were that they were tasked with colorizing and updating the storylines and the jokes from that early era. And what we got was a new take on what makes this funny, what works about this, what doesn't work about this, and let's rework it.
You can reach out to them on Twitter with links we'll provide on the blog, and you can go to their main website, which is thismeanspodcast.podbean.com. That is thismeanspodcast.podbean.com. Next up, Cave Crew Radio from Ken Kennedy 1. Its description says, Cave Crew Radio, it's a man thing, and that's thing with an A. Now live, Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern on www.cavecrewradio.com. Shock talk radio at its best. Join your hosts, Brian Crean, a.k.a. The Big B from Metal Thunder Radio, Choo Choo Stu from London, England, and Double K, also known as DK, from Double Talk Radio. Find out what really gets talked about in the man cave. Sports, hot topics, films, trending news, beer, and the likes are always on topic. 90 minutes of mayhem, guest co-hosts, open studio lines, and an interactive chat room. What's the Cave Crew got cooking this week? Tune in to find out. Fair enough? This clip is from an episode from September 11th, 2020. The episode is a live show which is called Two Whores and Nothing Happened. Not only is this the title of the episode, it's also the entire description. So the clip I've provided, it's from the beginning of the story that inspired the episode's title.
Well, as normally happens with this show, when Choo Choo Stu is on, we come up with some topic and eventually leads into a Choo Choo Stu story. And he continually tells us he's told us everything, there's nothing more to tell, and then suddenly there's a new story. But of course, lately he thinks he's told us already, which is not the case. So we were learning about Stu's dad and how into radio he was, and he was on the radio, did some call-ins and whatnot. And I guess it was his mom that was listening to a radio station. They were giving away a trip to Las Vegas. She called in. And she won the trip, the family trip for four to Las Vegas. I don't remember how old Stu was at the time. I didn't write that down, unfortunately. But that's what led us to today. That was the cliffhanger. Choo Choo Stu goes to Vegas, and we have a dog with us.
This is Ziggy, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Ziggy.
The dog
Ziggy is nice and calm.
Yeah.
He's happy. Look at he's licking you. That's nice. Ziggy's excited to be on the radio, and Ziggy can't wait to hear the story of Choo Choo Stu in Las Vegas.
I've not only been licked to death by that dog, but it's also bitten me as well.
Yes, it gets a little vicious sometimes.
It was so excited it decided to bite me, but it's a lovely dog. I love that dog.
Anyway, so what happened? How did we get to Las Vegas?
Is it my turn?
Yeah, well, you're the one that I don't know the story.
No,
we just know.
So we're there that your mom was listening to the radio.
Yeah.
Listening to a program. They were giving away a trip to Las Vegas. And she called in and won.
She knew it was coming up. She had the, because we used to have, like the speed dial and all that, on the phone.
Right.
So it was always programmed for that radio station. And, my mum was very well prepared for these competitions that were coming up. She was, like a quiz master. So, and it was all a matter about getting the timing right when you ring in. If you're 2 seconds late, you're not going to get through. But she got through, and she won, holiday to Las Vegas for 4 people at the I can't remember the hotel now. But, she won it for 4 people, accommodation, food, and I think they gave us about $500-600 spending money as well. And this was this was in 1995.
You're leaving 1995, BB. You're leaving from London, England, so they're paying for the flight. They're paying for the. This is a big prize.
Oh, massive prize! It's a jackpot prize. You couldn't really get much better, could you? Really, like coming from London, to Vegas.
Sure.
So now
it's an all expense paid trip.
7 nights,
airfare, food,
everything. Yeah,
food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 3 meals.
Well, I don't know if it was breakfast, but it was like definitely. Oh, maybe it wasn't. I can't remember. I think
the
it was
food is so
anyway.
cheap down there.
Yeah, the food was. I don't think we really ate much in the hotel anyway.
Right.
So,
and how
4
many days
people
was the trip?
7 nights.
A 7-night trip.
7 nights. Huge. So 4 people. So your mom won.
Yeah.
Who did she choose to go with her?
Well, she's got 4 kids, right? So one of them didn't live at home, and I think the rest, for some reason, my younger brother didn't go. So it was myself and my sister, but we wasn't kids. I didn't leave. I didn't move out of my home until in my 30s or something.
I wouldn't think they would.
Wait a minute,
younger brother, because he's the one that they gave away to another family that they just met on another vacation.
Right? Yeah, he's missing in a cult somewhere right now. But you didn't leave home until your 30s, and you still had all these adventures that you've told us about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But, so it was decided that I would go and my younger sister would go. Personally, I had never had any desire to go to the USA whatsoever. And I wasn't really that bothered about going to New York, if I'm honest. I thought, not New York, to Vegas. And I thought, well, shall I go? Yeah, I might as well. I'll just go and see what happens, you know.
You can reach out to all of them on Twitter, on their social media. And, of course, you can go to www.cavecrewradio.com, which is CAVECREWRADIO.com.
Hello, friends. Bill Haywatt here. Are you disappointed with pants that don't live up to the hype? Are you sick and tired of pants that don't fulfill the promise of their name? Well, the good folks at Henderson's Pants want you to know that they take their craft seriously. Oh, very seriously. And that's why they're proud to introduce their new Henderson's Coveralls. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hold on one second, mister. I've seen coveralls before, that staple of the farming, construction, and automotive repair communities. Well, that's true, friends, but admit it, you harbor a deep disappointment when you find that traditional coveralls don't actually cover all. Oh, not even close. Traditional coveralls annoyingly leave the feet, neck, and cranium completely exposed, which is tantamount to false advertising, until now. Henderson's has taken the coverall concept to a whole new level by eliminating the annoying pant holes, sleeves, and neckline, then installing a single zipper that encloses 3 sides of this rectangular garment. You get a warm, durable fabric that covers your entire body. Truly a coverall for all. Originally designed for disaster relief areas, tsunami-prone beaches, and plane crash cleanups, the design of the Henderson's coveralls has nothing to do with rumors of a recent contract that fell through for Henderson's to provide 10,000 body bags to FEMA. That's Henderson's, makers of stuff sacks and ditty bags since 1834. And now back to Succotash. Take it away, Marco. This episode of Succotash is sponsored in part by TrumPoetry.com, a chronological ode to a fake muse. Enjoy a rhyming spin on the news of the day every day, as well as over 500 archived daily verses thoroughly covering the White House, America, and the world with a sticky caramel coating that's impossible to remove. That's TRUMPoetry.com. Everything you need to know in rhyming couplets. TrumPoetry.com.
Well, it has been quite a week for TrumPoetry.com. Got quite a few here for you. Most of them are quite short, but it's a pretty important time in our history, so I'm going to go ahead and read a few of them. So from November 3rd. Oh, and there's another thing. I figured out that that number of these poems refers to the days left until inauguration. And in this case, spoilers, Joe Biden is going to be the president of the United States, and Donald Trump is not going to be, as long as our system works the way it was designed to work. That should be what happens. So, from November 3rd, Election Day 2020, is number 78, and this one is a haiku. Lies, threats, obstructions, rights and lives sadly at risk as we hold our breath. And then from November 4th, number 77. The landslide that we hoped for didn't fall. The numbers once predicted not appearing. That ever-looming outcome we've been fearing. Anxiety and tension cast a pall. What is this foreign country we've become, with goals and standards I can't recognize? I've lost the truth I cherished in these lies. Oh, when will this depression turn to numb? 4 years to mobilize a strong defense. Tonight we saw the best that we could do. Was not enough to turn the red to blue and wash away the stain of Trump and Pence. Perhaps in sleep a respite from the sorrow. There's still a few more votes to count tomorrow. Just an aside, turns out there was quite a few more than a few. And then I've skipped to November 6th, 2020. Number 75. We witness the great orange beast engage in a falsehood-filled feast, with insightful claims and off-the-chart blames, while the ballots for Biden increased. See, now, if you're not going to DrumPoetry.com, you're really missing out on these. I mean, I know I'm reading them on every episode that I host, but there's so many of them, and all of them are good. Anyway, the final one is from the 8th, which is actually tomorrow. Number 73. Trump's had time for copping a feel, and more time to lie, cheat, and steal. And then time for Joe to say, Dawn, time to go. It's time for our country to heal.
Right? Right.
And our final clip on offer tonight is from a podcast or soundcast called The Mallard Report from Jim Mallard. In its description it says, paranormal, alternative, trending, topical, conspiracy. Join host Jim Mallard for the weekly podcast that ventures into the fringe, the unusual, and even current events, and is not afraid to ask the tough questions. An interview-based podcast that features real-time interactions with live listeners. Stripped of rigid traditional show formalities and no fear of controversy, the Mallard Report is sure to feature something for everyone. Now, the clip is from a show from September 15th, 2020, and its description says, Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM, is one of, if not the fastest growing field in the last few decades. STEM is a broad term used to group together these academic disciplines. This term is typically used when addressing education, policy, and curriculum choices in schools to improve competitiveness in science and technology development. It has implications for workforce development, national security concerns, and immigration policy. STEM is a major component in the industries of Department of Defense, NASA, legislation, and several others. While this rapidly growing field is seeing more people shift into this lane of study, there is still a very wide gender gap of those in the field. This week on the Mallard Report, Jim welcomes a guest that is blazing quite a trail for others to follow in the STEM field. On this episode, Jim features Priyanka Kamala, podcast host, keynote speaker, and STEM advocate, to discuss what it looks like to be a woman in the STEM field. Quote, at age 5, Priyanka gave an impromptu speech about an airplane, which catapulted her into becoming the distinguished speaker she is today. She is the host and producer of the Curry Up Startup podcast to spotlight Asian leaders and inspiring people. Although she had followed the cultural expectation of getting a master's to becoming an engineer and technologist, Priyanka knew she wanted to make a bigger impact. She wanted a seat at the table to help others. So she got her MBA. At the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, she serves as a technology leader in digital transformation projects. She is passionate about using technology as an enabler to help scientists communicate effectively to varied audiences, and is hosting a podcast at the Academy's #OceanPod, featuring eminent scientists from around the globe. Priyanka has been featured on Huffington Post, InPower, Toastmasters International Magazine, and Hello Giggles, and has been invited to speak at ACT-W, or ACT-W, not sure, National Conference in Phoenix, ACT-W Boston Keynote, Women in Tech DC Summit, Women in Technology, Girls in Technology, Inroads, which is all caps, Yuvi Shakti, served as the Vice President of DC Web Women, and was previously on the board of Bite Back Next Generation Council.
What made you want to do a podcast to start with?
Two things, Jim. First, as a new mom, I had this desire in me. I was on maternity leave, and I was like, I need to do something more with my life. And, usually I'm someone who just can't stay still. I just can't sit at home and say, oh, I'm a new mom, and, I just got to chill. That was just not me. So I decided, I was thinking of this idea of a podcast because I personally felt there was this vacuum in terms of representing Asian stories. Me personally, I had this challenge, and I was like, I'm quite sure everybody else must be facing the same challenge. And I was like, okay, let me get started on this. But the background is that, as I mentioned, I love people. I'm always curious about how people's, life journey shapes up. And, anytime I even get on an Uber or something, I start talking with my, my viewer guy, saying okay, what got you here? What do you do? And, things like these. That's just my usual style of interaction. So I felt my love for people always stays in there. And two, spotlighting Asians was a nice combination. So two of them. And then I felt I could use my sleepless nights as a new mom to really channelize my energy into doing something that would make me feel happy. So that's how it got started. And now we are close to 35 episodes in a year. And, I'm looking forward to keep that inner drive in me going.
I was going to say, you might be the only person I've ever talked to on my show or on their show who answered that question was, I had a baby and I needed to do more. Just for the record.
You know what, Jim? Thank you. I take it as a compliment. And
it is, because, I mean, like I said, I have 2 older ones, right? And those first few months of anything creative or wanting to do something more just wasn't there. So I there's a special something in you that I am honoring. I'm not slacking that. I'm just saying that there is something
absolutely.
There.
Oh, thank you. And you know what? I think motherhood really pushes you into doing something more, because I had the same feeling that, once you enter a different stage of life, your priorities change and, how do you manage time? But when you love something so dearly, you actually find time. Somehow magically it just happens. And, it's very inspiring for me personally, Jim, especially during COVID when I'm doing these episodes. It's like you're speaking with a couple of people for a couple of hours every week. And I feel very grateful to get that human connection and, getting to get a lot of wisdom from these people, because, their life journey, everybody's life journey is so different. And it's just so hard to meet so many people, right, from across the globe who are willing to give you the time to share their stories. So I feel immensely grateful to my guests and people like you who support what I'm doing. So thank you so much again.
Oh, you're welcome. And I appreciate those moments too, right? Just because we cross paths right here, right now, and in 6 months or a year from now, I'm going to see your name again, and I'm guaranteed to go hit you on Twitter and see what you've been doing. Like, it doesn't matter.
Oh, right? Thank you.
Like, you're always going to be a former guest of the show, so there's always going to be a piece of me that's vested in you and seeing what you're doing. So, unless you block me,
I appreciate that, Jim.
Which has happened before. But anyways, that's a. Why am I ruining this nice moment?
Hey, you're not actually. You know what? I'm going to remember this moment, and then see, I'm a memory taker, right? So I'm going to remember this moment, and you got to check on me 6 months down the lane and see what I'm doing with my life, and hopefully I live up to what you believe in me.
I believe that with your podcast and your drive, that somebody somewhere someday is going to be like, where was she before this? And, there's going to... I mean, you've done some things, but I hope that this moment and all the podcast and all the listeners I have can help you not only share your show, but help share STEM. Yeah. And all... I mean, like, this should help people understand how important some of these other things are out in the world. With all the negativity going on in the world, people are always telling me they're looking for positive things, and here I'm bringing them one. So now let's take the positive seed, and I'm planting it. Let's make sure the flower grows and gets seen by everybody. Good analogy there.
I know. Hey, you're getting into the STEM field. Hey, you seem to have another career, Jim, that you should seriously consider.
For all things Mallard Report, you can go to mallard.com, which is spelled MALLIARD.com. And, of course, you can find the Mallard Report on Twitter, as well as Priyanka Kamala and Jim Mallard himself. And there they went. Those were the clips of this week's show on offer for you. I do hope we were a pleasant way to pass the time. This year has been interesting. Not in a good way, mind you, but in that may you live in interesting times kind of way. I hope you found the content interesting in a good way. I hope that you seek out the soundcast presented in this episode to listen to more episodes. Or perhaps you will be distracted by a soundcast on your way to find these soundcasts. I'd say it's difficult to predict, but prediction is the easy part. I just have to change the perhaps part to I predict, and then at some point it becomes true. Like how at some point COVID-19 will go away. That's not inaccurate, ultimately, but it shouldn't be the governing factor of a society's choices about being cautious with the health of themselves or others. Everything, including us, will eventually go away. Some of us would rather not be taken out by a virus that one could have taken more steps to avoid. Well, you probably already know this, or have heard this type of thing before. Unless this is so far in the future that... you know what? I'm exhausted. Election week has been a real stress test. I appreciate your listening. Be decent to each other. Wear a mask when it can mean the difference between life and a homicide through negligence. And while we are hopefully rebuilding the relatively sane society that our children desperately need, if you would like to share this form of entertainment with others, we would appreciate it greater than you can ever know. It's what we mean when we ask you to please pass the succotash.
You've been listening to Succotash Shut-In, the Soundcast Stimulus Package, with your host, Tyson Saner. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants, TrumPoetry.com, and imagine your company's name right here. Find us on the web at SuccotashShow.com, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, on the Laughable app, and tattooed on your mother's rear end. You can hear us streaming and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Succotash Show. Email us at tyson@succotashshow.com or call into the Succotash Skype line at our toll call number 818-921-7212.
That number again is 818-921-7212.
You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/succotash. Production of Succotash is overseen by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, the home of the hit. Our hosts are Mark Hershon and Tyson Saner. Our musical director is Scott Carvey. Our booth assistant is still Kenny Durgis. And until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Haywatt, reminding you to please wash your hands and pass the succotash. Goodbye. This has been a Succotash Patch production.